Good morning, everyone. This is Judith A. Cole. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So, The Pit, the season finale was last night, and nobody's head exploded, so that was good. That was a lot of tension. Um, the one character on the show coming in named Judith, I don't know what that plot point was about. A free birth, a wild birth, whatever she kept calling it, did not sound like a good idea. And I kept saying, "Come on, Judith. You got to make it. You're my namesake. I was rooting for the baby to breathe. That's some tense ass shit." And I get what Robbie is saying. His life hasn't gone the way he wanted it to go. He has an all consuming job. And, you know, that's that's part of the sacrifice. And normally you don't see men having to make those sacrifices. Normally, in real life and in television, it's usually the woman who is struggling, holding on to a marriage, and you know, she finally decides to leave because she just has spent 20 years being on the sideline with a partner who was never available. And then that guy goes and marries someone 20 years younger and starts a whole nother family. So they're going a different direction because that's normally what happens in real life, real talk, you know. And I'm not judging it. I'm second family. That's what happens. I have siblings who are almost 80 because I'm second family. Um, and that's what happens. So I think it's fascinating that they made Dr. Robbie that guy. But I also think that after the third or fourth person was like, "You need to go get some help," that was powerful, um, because he does need help, and we all need help. Every single person who is an adult, who's working, who's engaged, who has a family, they have stress. We all have stress. I have been very blessed and fortunate enough to be able to take some time to manage mine because I was so exhausted. You know, I was telling my friend in Chicago over the weekend, she was like, she asked me a question, and I think something came up like, "Oh, well, you didn't have time to go get a mani pedi." I said, I was too embarrassed to show my feet because for 3 years I had about 5 to 10 minutes max in the bathroom in the evenings. Like cutting my toenails might have been as much as I could do because my mom was still walking and active. And if you're in the bathroom, she doesn't know who I am. Some days she was really like, "Who are you?" That means she can escape out the door. And I need that like I need a hole in my head. So I would just get in, take the quickest shower ever, get my clothes on, and then make sure that I was poised for whatever she may or may not do. Because I would try to get her asleep by 7, at least resting, too tired to just, so I could take a shower. And, I just settled into that routine and you just do it and you don't think about it. But then, by the time I looked down at my feet, I was like, damn, I can't take my shoes off anywhere. Like I look crazy. Like my feet look neglected. And so it's those little things. And people don't realize it, because it's not like I would get on the phone every day and like, "Girl, my mom just started eating the blanket." She would try to eat her blanket. That was a thing. Um, I definitely didn't have a lot of time in the shower. She would love to be up at night, especially when we first moved into the condo. She would be up all night rambling through her closet, or she would lay down for 5 minutes and pretend she'd been, in bed all night. It was just a lot. And it was relentless. And so by the time she transitioned, I was exhausted. And of course, I miss her. I miss her terribly. I was laughing with my sister yesterday. My mom was funny. Not when she was trying to be funny. When she was trying to be funny, she would like really hurt your feelings. But and she was like, "I was just joking." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't understand jokes. Jokes are funny. This was mean." But when she was just being herself, she was hilarious. For instance, and this is why I think a lot of people uh don't appreciate or fully understand how intense it was in here with me and my mom. Because my mom was, for a while, just whooping our asses, me and the caregivers and my sister. I told my sister, I was like, why would you put your head right where she could hit it? I told you she's been hitting us. Anyway, back to a funny story. So there was a stretch, and this is why people don't get it, because I had a lot of funny stories, because a lot of it was funny. You know, we were gonna go. It was the coldest winter too. I think it was like 2022 going into 2023. That Christmas, we had a real deep freeze, and it was so cold I didn't feel good taking my mom out in it. But my cousin always throws a lovely gathering, so we tried to go. And so I said, Mom, we gotta get you in the shower. So I put her in my shower. I had it super warm. It was very comfortable. Man, she got in that water and she was like, oh, like she had been shot. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, this is terrible. I was like, Ma, you wanted to take the shower. You asked. She was like, oh, it's the worst idea I ever had. And so I had to like hold the door open, which was making her colder, and help her clean herself so she could then immediately get out of the shower. And then she had natural hair. Plus, she's 80 some years old with dementia. And she's like, don't let this water hit my hair. And I was like, wow, your hair will be fine. It was a whole production. And I laughed so hard because she was like, this is the worst idea I ever had. She was so dramatic. But, like I said, I think it made it very challenging for people to realize how how deeply involved I was in her care and how deeply I was neglecting myself because I had so many funny stories. And I'd still have funny stories. She was amazing. She cracked me up. And now that I can look back at our history together and our time together objectively, I miss my girl. I miss her. And she loved me a lot. And people go, of course. But no, it's not of of course, because my mom was tough and kind of mean, and she didn't share her emotions freely. Like, I have 2 or 3 times she may have had an observation about me as a child. There are a lot of people who can fawn about their kids, like, oh, and she always did this, and she was smart, and she was. My mom wasn't like that. I think she told me, oh, and this is over the course of the last 15 years we were together. She she said, "Oh no, you were always sweet. You were a sweet child." And I was like, "Man, you never made me feel like I was a sweet child though. I was always in trouble." Ooh, you getting on my nerves. That was her number one thing. Ooh, you getting on my nerves. Look at here. You gonna have to sit down. My mom was born in Alabama, and she had a very proper voice for people she didn't know very well. But when she was comfortable, she was super country. Oh, look at here. You need to sit down. So that, I don't know. Do people say that to sweet kids? So she was like, you were always very sweet. And she said that, and she said, you always wanted to be rich. I said, yes, thank you. I know that's true. Because my parents would be like, we don't have the money for that. And I'd be like, go get it. Where is it? I didn't understand. But anyway, I don't even know how I got on that. I miss my mom. I guess that's really all that matters. The Pit was excellent. That was a tough episode to watch, but he needs help, and I think he's actually going to get it. And maybe these one day, I mean, it's interesting. Like 1917, the movie, I stumbled on it on cable accidentally, and it's one long continuous shot, which we know in reality is impossible, but it in the movie it is one long dolly shot. There are no edits, which is incredible, and it was fun to watch. But I don't know that I'd want to watch another 2 hours of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe this has been cool, but maybe can we get 2 days, maybe 3 days, maybe a week? What's a week like? Because everybody's not going to stay on 10 like that. And I don't want them to start going home and dealing in the personal lives of the doctors. Because what I really like about the show is it stays about the hospital, it stays about the ED, but you know, maybe we could stretch out the time we have with them. Maybe they can get a wardrobe change. That poor Dr. Halashimi, she had to wear that little jacket the whole season of shooting, but her character was fascinating. And when if you watch to the very end, they have some insights from the actors, and the actor that plays Dr. Alashimi, you know, she lets on, which I didn't notice because she was very measured and put together at the beginning of the day, and then as the season goes on and we get to the hour 14, like she does not look like what she looked like at the beginning of the day, which is very true in reality. She kind of comes undone, especially with the stress level that they had that day. That was a shitty day. That was a lot. Some people look whooped at the end. Poor Dr. Javadi. They all just looked like they had it. Which it's important to recognize that those kind of hard jobs, people do get exhausted. They do get burned out. And it's the relationships that you form. So some of the friendships that I made at my job that I left in 2025 last year, um, yes, indeed, some of those were trauma bonds and they weren't real friendship, but a lot of them really were friendships because we went through a trauma together. We buckled down and we worked hard and we supported each other. And, you know, if you guys are interested, I'll get more into what it was like to be working for Wesley Bell because he's the trauma I speak of. And it was really really challenging. If people want to hear it, I'm more than happy to talk about it. Um, yeah, a lot of people aren't telling the truth about who he is and what it was like to know him and work for him. It was challenging because he just really didn't seem to want to be a prosecutor. He wanted to be a politician. And it made our job incredibly difficult, especially when COVID hit. COVID was actually great. I never got COVID. Working from home was fantastic. And it gave me a chance to like rest and heal and get that second win because you know Alzheimer's was about to get way worse. So we got the diagnosis during COVID because I was home with her all day, and I'm like, wait, something is not right. And yeah, so if you guys are interested, I can go into it. It's just the same old bullshit when you have a toxic work environment. And the interesting thing was the advice people were trying to give me, like, go talk to somebody. I'm like, I can't talk to anybody. He's the boss. If the boss hates your guts, there's nobody else to talk to. So that was unique. Um, but also too, you know, I think I'm going to. I've been really, really, really enjoying older music, like the '90s. I just didn't realize that the '90s was going to be the last great decade for everything. And I'm not saying everything got shitty overnight. Certainly, there are things in the 2000s that I still like, but the epicenter of music and movies and just feeling like life was fun was in the 90s. And I was thinking, I'm blessed enough and fortunate enough to remember how good when things were good, like really good. My parents grew up in tough times and they managed to prosper enough to give me a middle class childhood. And it was good. I do remember the Atlanta child murders really did scare the shit out of me because I used to walk home from school. So when that happened, there was a little bit of the end of the innocence. But, you know, I was the kid who'd be like, there's a weird white van on the street. I would tell. And no one ever tried to really kidnap me. But I do remember being like, man, you know, this is a fun life. But I did have some concerns about the child murders because it was children. And I was like, wait, I'm a children. This is scary. But yeah, I mean, it was idyllic in a lot of ways. We played outside. We rode our bikes. We ate ice cream and had, those colored frosty things to suck on in the summertime. Somebody's mom would always have like a pop or a freeze or a something. And I mean, life was really good. And I remember McDonald's tasted like food, Wendy's tasted like food. Um, you know, and it was a treat. Nobody was living off of McDonald's, right? My father just did not understand McDonald's or any fast food. He was like, "What? Why do you even want this?" And it was a treat. And so the problem now is I can see that as soon as a company is a publicly traded entity, all they care about is generating a profit year after year after year. And so that means they cut costs every year, they cut quality every year, they make shortcuts every year. And that's how we arrive here with a McDonald's meal that'll last for 25 years without breaking down. What is it doing on the inside of your body? Not good things. So, I'm not against fast food, but I'm against the production of food that isn't really food. So, that's problematic. And I'm old enough to remember all the good music. I can listen to older music exclusively for 8 to 10 hours. I made a playlist for my brother that's like 10 hours long, and it's all 70s and 80s music because that's when he was at his peak and he was a DJ and it was fun and life was fun. We used to have fun. Even though my parents got divorced and my family life wasn't always the greatest, I'm telling you, living with a bipolar sibling is not what you would sign up for if you had your choice. Um, but we always had fun. We always managed to have some laughs. You know, Something would always make us chuckle. And, I'm the head chuckler. people people know that if I think something's funny, I'm gonna laugh. I It has put an inordinate amount of pressure on me over the years, especially at family parties when we're supposed to be taking something seriously and everybody's staring at me like, we know you're gonna break. We know you're the one that's gonna start cracking up. But life is good. And I think, as scary as these times are, as frustrating as these times are, all of it, stop watching it. It's going to do what it's going to do. And I'm a big advocate on knowing what's going on in your world, but I don't live in Iran. I don't know what Trump's going to do. But I mean, you should know your local news so you can protect yourself because that shit could actually really happen at your door. But, I say pray, put your best positive light and energy out into the world. Be present for the people you love. Let them know that you're there for them and you actively want to listen to them. Practice active listening. Stop just having conversations so you're waiting for your turn to talk because you're not really listening. You know, if you're talking, you're not listening. Be an active listener. Pray, meditate, take deep breaths. Let your body know that you're safe. All of this worrying and stressing. I was talking to a teenager this past couple of days, and she was like, I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about that, and I'm worried about this. And I'm like, you're sweet because you're young, but all of this will work itself out. And none of it is a surprise to God. That's the thing. And most people's behavior, it's not a surprise to you either. It's just something you don't fucking want to deal with, or you thought the person had grown past that. But when people show you their personalities, you just got to accept that that's probably who they're always going to be. My friend Mizana would say, that's it. Nobody changes. But I think people can make behavioral changes. Their personality might not change, but they can commit to making some sort of behavioral change because I've done it. You can change your mind and be a better person. Uh, Most people don't have the discipline or focus to do that, but miracles happen. And there are times when you reach rock bottom, you've hit a place where you won't survive if you stay the way you've been. And so that's important to change. And all I'm suggesting is trust your gut, trust pattern recognition, and be proud of where you are. I'm so tired of the women in my life who have children saying, well, I guess that's it. I'm just going to be a mom. What the fuck? That's the biggest psyop out there. And only men would author some bullshit like that. You can't just be a mom. That's impossible. The moms make the society that these people are so happy to thrive in. Without moms, there's no society. Without moms, there's no community that you love. Without moms, there's nothing. And only men would be like, yeah, you know, fuck that. That's the biggest psyop in the world. There is probably a universe out there right now that's like, yo, that earth is no joke. They hate the people that make the people. It's bullshit. We should be worshipped. Instead, men low key resent and hate us. And I have absolutely no idea why, other than we show their shortcomings and they hate it. That would be my main guess. That would be my main guess with the boss who hated me because I did nothing but try to help him. But he assumed because I saw that he didn't have any experience with things, he felt some kind of way and got insecure and was like, well, you make me feel insecure, so I'm going to fucking torment you. Well, fuck you. I'm a grown ass accomplished woman. And by the time I took that job, I was not 23 or 25 or 30. I was fucking almost 50 when I took the job. So it's like, you can't tell me shit about who I am. I know who I am. You're the weak one. And, I just feel like men resent when we get it right. And guess what? A strong, intelligent, present, healed woman almost always gets it right. So fuck off, and it's easy to say now because I'm in menopause. I don't give a fuck. Like, come on. It's not like I'm running around trying to have all this sex. That's the best part about it. I hate the hot flashes. I hate the weight gain. I hate all of the physical stuff. But like, your mindset is like perfect because you have earned your stripes. You speak up for yourself. You know who you are, you know, and you can't tell me who I am. And I'm not going to be begging you and chasing you because my body is not trying to make babies with you. You know what I mean? So I can be very, very objective. And I hate that we're in this season. I miss when men would openly tell you how much they loved you and wanted to get to know you and hey, beautiful, I saw you across the room. Like somebody you could take seriously. Right now, the only people who want to talk to you are the people you would never talk to. You dig? I was talking to the teenager and she was saying, oh, I can tell when a guy likes me because they ask me for my Instagram and then they follow me. What? What is that? I'm going to do a longer podcast on that, but that's sad. Do you realize if I had a teenage boy, he'd be getting all the girls because he'd be comfortable enough in his skin to walk up to the girl and just start talking to her. Whoa. We got to do better. Take care of yourselves. Love you so much. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you. We are growing. This podcast is growing, and that's all because of you. You listen, you like, you subscribe, you share, you give me 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to. I think Apple must refresh them or something. This podcast has been on for years, and now I've got fewer likes than I've ever had, and I'm like, what's happening? But yeah, I've been doing this since 2017, so they're probably like, well, those people might not be listening still, but they are. So go ahead and smash the 5 stars. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. Love you so much. We'll meet back here soon. Be well. Be safe.